Hi, sixth graders. We are starting Unit 6, which is our integers unit. This topic is integers and absolute value. Label the top of a new spot in your notebook so you can keep all of your Unit 6 notes together. After this lesson, we want to be able to use integers to describe situations and determine the absolute value of a number or expression. So just to think about a few things, how do we differentiate between what we have and do not have for money? So if we have money, we're positive. If we owe someone money or we don't have money, then we are in the negative or at zero. How do you describe your location when scuba diving? So scuba diving, you're below sea level, so that's going to be a negative amount of feet. And mountain climbing, you're way above, you're pretty high, so that's going to be positive. How do you know who is ahead in the sport of golf? So if you've watched golf, you know that, or if you know anything about golf, the scores can be positive or negative. The lower the score, the better that you're doing. How do all these examples, what do all of these examples have in common in terms of math and numbers? So they all have to do with integers, which are positive and negative numbers. So integers is the set of, so this word is a very, very important word for the unit, considering the unit is called our integers unit. So integers is how you say it, integer. Write that down. And this is the set of positive, negative, so positive and negative whole numbers and zero. Negative integers are less than zero. They're written with a negative sign or a minus sign. Positive integers are greater than zero. They are written with or without a positive sign. So if we have negative 3 and then positive 3, as you know, we would just write as 3. 0 is neither negative or positive, right in the middle. It's not considered either one, but it is still considered an integer. Write an integer for each situation. An average temperature of 5 degrees below normal, so below normal would mean that we would write it as negative 5 degrees. An average rainfall of 5 inches above normal would mean 5 degrees. So negative 5 for below normal, positive 5 for above normal. You try these. 6 degrees above normal would be 6 degrees. 2 inches below normal would be negative 2 inches. Notice that I have the label with. The little dot is degrees or inches, then we include. Graphing integers on a number line. So we want to graph the set of integers 4, negative 6, 0. These little brackets right here mean that it is including a set. So that's why we say a set of integers, because this is a set of numbers because it's included inside the brackets. So first we would draw a number line. Notice that we have 0 right in the middle here. And then I just went out till 10 and to negative 10. We just have like a little dash for each whole number. So 1, we don't need to label them all. We can see that they just labeled it by 2's. But I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I have my negatives on the left side of the 0. So 4, we can see, is right here. Negative 6, we can see, is over here. And then 0, obviously, is right in the middle. Graph each set. So you draw a just really quick number line. It doesn't need to be fancy. You can just do one number line for both of these questions and plot those points. So if we have negative 2 is right here, 8 is right here, and then negative 7 is right here. So notice we're just counting backwards, starting at 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, so counting backwards instead of going forwards the other way. And then negative 4 would be here, 10 would be here, and positive 7 would be here. So you just have to make sure, oops, and I forgot -3, which would be right here. Making sure that you're looking at the sign that goes with it. So this negative sign would obviously go with the 4. This negative sign goes with the 3. There's nothing here, so that means that is positive. So negative, positive, negative, positive. Absolute value is another word that I want you to write down. Absolute value of a number is the distance between the number and 0 on a number line. So if we look here, we can see 0. We know that 5, the number 5, is 5 units away from 0, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We also know that -5 is 5 units away from 0. So absolute value is just talking about how far away it is from 0. In order for a number to be a distance away from 0, it has to be a positive amount away, even if it's a negative number, if that makes sense to you. So this is how we write absolute value. We write the 2 straight lines around the number. So for this right here, I would say the absolute value of -5 is 5. Here I would say the absolute value of 5 is 5. So absolute value, something you also want to add to your definition, is always positive. Always positive. So the absolute value can be, like the absolute value, as you can see, of -5 and 5 are both 5 because they're each 5 spots away. The absolute value of -4, if I'm at 4, I can see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 spots away. It's basically just taking the number and making it positive. And again, the absolute value of +4 would still be 4. The absolute value bars are considered to be a grouping symbol. When evaluating this right here, we evaluate the absolute value first before subtracting. So I'm going to take the absolute value of -5, which I know is 5, the absolute value of 2, which is 2, then I subtract and I get 3. So we do absolute value first, which is kind of like the order of operations. It's not parentheses, but it would come in that order, and then we subtract. Okay, you try these on your own, come back and check. So the absolute value of 8 would just be 8. It's not the opposite, remember, it's just the positive number of that, whatever's inside the absolute value. Here, I'm going to do my absolute value first, so I have 2 plus 3, because the absolute value of -3 is 3. Then I add, and I get 5. Here, the absolute value of -6 is 6, and then I keep the rest, -5, so I get 1. Remember, the absolute value of a negative number is positive. The absolute value of a positive number is also positive. And that is all that I have for this topic. So one thing to remember before I stop is that these lines, so 11 was kind of a bad example, but these lines, we want to make sure that they are distinguished between, so that we know that it's absolute value, instead of doing a 3 and then going like this, and then that kind of looks like 131. So make sure your absolute value lines represent what they're supposed to be instead of making it look like a number. And we know that that's going to be 3. All right, that is all I have. Have a good night.